Hi everyone, this is Emma Panada again. I use they, she pronouns, and I'm the creator and lead developer of All the Witches. Thank you for all your interest last week in our first progress report video, where we shared the dice system that All the Witches uses. If you haven't watched that video yet, I would recommend checking it out now because the content of this video relates pretty heavily to that one. For the rest of you, in this progress report, we'll be talking about attributes, skills, and the fatigue grid. Attributes and skills are terms that everyone who plays TTRPGs are likely familiar with, but the fatigue grid is something new that we'll explore together shortly. To start, All the Witches has 4 primary attributes and 1 core attribute. The 4 primary attributes are power, your character's physical strength and ability; agility, their nimbleness, reflexes, and balance; soul, their ability to relate to and understand others; and mind, simply put, their knowledge. The core attribute in All the Witches is endurance, which in many other systems is called HP or spell slots. Endurance shows how much fatigue your character can withstand before collapsing. This attribute also determines how many spells your character can use in each encounter. At the start of a new game, each primary attribute should have an attribute rank between 1 and 4. When you're making skill checks, these ranks determine whether your checks succeed or not. As mentioned in the last video, if your character is trying to do something like pick a lock, your GM will determine that that skill check uses agility. If your attribute rank in agility is a 4, and your GM says the difficulty of the check is a D8, then you'd need to roll a 4 or lower on the D8 to succeed. Skills are things that can influence your chances of success or failure at skill checks. There are 3 kinds of skills in All the Witches: general, specific, and weakness. General skills are skills that are very broad in scope, things like history, thievery, or technology. Specific skills are subcategories of your general skills, showing that you have a specific knowledge or ability in relation to that general skill. For instance, a specific skill relating to history would be knowing about the life of a certain ruler. One relating to thievery could be stealth, and another relating to technology could be hacking. Weaknesses, on the other hand, are much like general skills, but they're things your character is bad at. All the Witches does not have a pre-made list of skills for you to choose your proficiencies from. Instead, you get to create your own to help make your character feel truly unique to you. During character creation, you can choose to have 3 general skills, 1 specific skill, and 1 weakness. If you'd like another specific skill, you can have one, but you must give yourself an additional weakness at character creation. Now, to keep using our example from earlier, say you're picking a lock and the GM says it's going to be a D8 agility check. You have a general skill that relates to picking locks, like thievery, then you get to add a +1 to your success range. So, if your agility is rank 4 and you have a general skill that relates, you now succeed by rolling 5 or lower. If you have a specific skill that relates to the check, like lockpicking, then you get to roll 2 dice. If one of them succeeds, then you succeed at the check. If you have a weakness in thievery, then you would have a -1 to your success range. During character creation, you should work with your GM to ensure that your skills are relevant to the campaign, and your general skills and weaknesses aren't too specific, and your specific skills aren't too general. Now that we've talked about attributes and skills and how they relate to one another, let's talk about the fatigue grid. The fatigue grid is how your endurance and defenses interact with one another in an encounter. Your 4 primary attributes act as defenses for your core attribute, your endurance. In a combat encounter, if a physical attack is trying to hit you, you can either defend with your power or agility. the attack hits, your opponent will roll damage, and if that number exceeds your attribute rank, then the excess will pass and damage your endurance. Then, the rank of the ability that you defended with will decrease by 1 for the rest of the encounter. If, however, the damage does not meet or exceed your attribute rank, then no damage goes through your attribute's rank and it is not reduced. Similarly, if a spell or action is targeting your mind or senses, you can either defend with mind or soul. For example, say someone with a sword is trying to attack you. You decide to withstand the attack with your power attribute, which is rank 4. They roll and are able to hit you, and then they roll their damage. They roll 6, so 2 of that damage goes to your endurance, and your power blocks the rest. However, then your power's rank will reduce to 3. So next time in that encounter, when you try to block with power or use a power-based attack, it will have less of a chance to succeed. This is done to illustrate how fatigue will set in during a stressful encounter, and how over time you'll get weaker and easier to hit. If your fatigue is reduced to 0, your character will fall unconscious. There are various abilities and spells that will affect the fatigue grid as well, but we'll save those for another day. Thank you so much for joining us on this adventure. Please join me next week when we talk about heritages and the discordance chart. If you'd like to follow our progress outside of these videos, you can follow us at allthewitches_ on Twitter. The link is in the description. Bye, and we'll see you next time.